Shalom, everybody. Really, at the beginning of the week, I had the total other plan. As the Torah says, Harbe machshavot belev ish. In Tefillah we always say. But etzad Adonai ta'amod hadavar. I really had in my heart to be able to go through a lesson of understanding of the 72 names, as I mentioned. And I prepared myself to my best of my ability, but unfortunately, Hashem thought otherwise, because it took me totally on a different direction. It is necessary for me to explain the concept of after Yetziat Mitzrayim and after Petichat Yam Suf, when Israel came to the other side after witnessed what happened at Petichat Yam Suf and at the Chof of Yam Suf, right, where they stood and witnessed the result of Petichat, opening and closing of Yam Suf. What happens after? We understand that it is very important to understand that prior we get to the Har Sinai to receive the Torah, Derech HaMidbar, Midbar Sinai, Hashem gave us three very important mitzvot to do. Shabbat, Para Aduma, and Kavod et Avicha ve'imecha. As we discussed yesterday, those three are necessary in order practically to get rid of all the machalot, sicknesses, negaim kashim, the pains that we have to go through, especially the unnecessary pains. If these three mitzvot are followed, those sicknesses will not ever penetrate our body. We started at the end of the parasha by explaining that the problem was of lack of water. Lack of water is lack of understanding of Torah. Looking at the Torah and seeing it is difficult. As we discussed, this time Hashem at Rafadim instructed Moshe to make a haka'ah, striking to the stone. But if we go to the front and we explained that was the consequence of what Israel asked. So the consequence was the Amalek and etc. at Rafadim. Now if we come to right at the beginning after we crossed the Yam Suf, the Torah in the chapter of Tet Vav, Pasuk Kaf Bet 22, Veyasa Moshe et Israel. It's very interesting. Et Israel. No Bnei Israel, no Am Israel. Et Israel. Miyam Suf. Veyetzeu el Midbar Shor. Veyelchu Shelashad Yamim. So from coming to the other side of the shore of Yam Suf, 3 days they kind of walked Bamidbar, velo matzu mayim. Here again the water, right at the beginning. Lack of water, complaining about the water. And every time Israel complains, kind of asks a question, what's going on? And we explained, when you don't know God, you better ask questions to get to know your God. Because every time Israel asked the question, God gave them the answer, reacted and gave through the answer to fulfill the lack of the knowledge that caused for them to ask the question. Now in here, ויסעו משה את ישראל מים סוף ויצאו אל מדבר שור וילכו 3 ימים במדבר ולא מצאו מים ויבואו מרתה. They came again to a location. Remember always, time and the place. I want to make a very footnote because I want you to have a chance to prepare yourself for Ilanut, which is in Los Angeles is on Thursday. Now the concept of Ilanut, understanding it and saying the brachot is extremely, extremely important because it's a part of machshava, it's a part of the thought that we are cultivating. So in this time, I would like just to, the study that we do tonight is both for the Petichat, Pirush Petichat Solam, and understanding of Etz Chaim, and the Talmud Eser Sefirot, understanding the root of the concept of Ilanut, and at the same time to understand what is Maan, because we said we come forward. So prior of Amalek was the concept of the Maan that Hashem gave to Israel, Lechem min hashamayim. Now, at this point, במדבר, לא מצאו מים, ויבואו מרתה. They came to a place, the word mar. Mar means bitter. What is bitter? What was bitter? Why the water that Hashem gave them, וילכו לשתות מים ממרה, כי מרים הם. Yes, they received Torah, they received the mitzvot, they received 3 mitzvot. Exactly after the Yatsu. 3 mitzvot to do. And then they realized to do these 3 mitzvot is too difficult for them. It's too bitter. It makes their life too difficult. And that brought them to Rafadim, to a place that they say, you know what? How can we do it without the Torah? They washed their hand off Torah and asked, Ha'im Hashem bekirbeinu. And this time was that Hashem told Moshe, take the tree, it's not anymore the stone, and give it to the water and sweeten it. That's kind of a mituk dinim. It's to make a din, a judgment, easier, sweeter. Vayelenu. There is the word ilan. Ilan, Aleph Lamed Nun. It's very important that we study, that we say ilanut. Ilan is 91, is the zivug of Adonai Yud Kei Vav Kei, Zeir Rampin and Malchut, Zeir Rampin and Shekhinah, Zeir Rampin, Zachar v'Nukva. Now, after this concept was understood, the Bnei Israel come again with another tolonot. Telonot. Telonot means complaints. But complaint in reality is a question. It's a lack of knowledge. Remember, when they were in Mitzrayim, they couldn't have the knowledge. They were disconnected from the realm of knowledge. Now they are thirsty for that knowledge because they say, if I don't receive this knowledge, I don't survive it. And when Hashem gave them a way for them to receive the knowledge, they said, this is too hard. We cannot do it. We need help. It is too hard to keep the Shabbat and to Para Duma and Kavod et Avicha ve'imecha. They looked at it and said it's too painful to go through this process. Then we go to the chapter Tet Zayin, Pasuk Yud Aleph Yud Bet. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, שמעתי את תולנות בני ישראל. I heard their complaints, their questions. דבר עליהם, tell them, לאמור בין ערבים, תאכלו בשר. In the evening you should have food, because they complained, what are we going to eat? And then they complained, listen, this is a hard life. There's no food. There's nothing. Who's going to provide us all the food? So he says, you're going to, in the evening, you eat basar. Basar is din. Basar is female aspect, and that's why it is din. O beboker tesavu lechem. Remember, and in the morning you shall have lechem. I want to make a footnote for all of us that have been studying. Lechem consists of 3 Yud Kei Vav Kei. Understand that the whole concept of the Torah, the whole concept of the machshava of Torah, is to establish the midat rachamim. That means shituf din with chasadim. Mituk dinim, that means all the dinim that, as we're going to study tonight, was caused because of Shevirat Keilim in the Olam of Nekudim, Olam that the source of which is Bina, Partsuf Sag. This Shevirat Keilim, that the Keilim fell in Olam Bria Yatzira Asiyah, and it is the duty of Neshama of Israel to collect all those holy sparks that they are Keilim coming from Olam Nekudim, which they are all Malchuyot, they are all Kli, holy Kli. And they are given to us on daily basis, portion by portion, every day given to us to rectify those dinim, polish them, correct them, take away the cause of their nefilah, and all my neshama, every one of us, we have a portion of all these dinim that was created in the Olam Shel Ben, as we're going to study. But I want to say that when we say lechem here, when we say water, water is reference to Torah, Etz Chaim. And when we say lechem, we are talking about 3 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the shoresh, is the root, is the cause of 13 midot of rachamim, as we call tikunei dikna. That's the most important goal for one Jew to understand. Because no matter who we are, we all use these 13 midot with tremendous amount of respect and affection. So he says, Tizevu lechem veyadatem. And you shall know, ki ani Adonai Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Elohechem, 106, which is moach, lev, and kaved. That means Not only you will find me in your heart, you will find me in your mind, and you will find me in your kaved, in your liver, bottom of your heart. Now, Ani Adonai, the Shekhinah and the Huvaya. Always remember that we discussed that there must be a masach, that there is an in-between the cause and an effect. The cause doesn't connect directly to an effect. There is an in-between that is both has the cause and the effect, has the siba and the mesuva, but in between there is a masach. Now this masach that causes revelation is always part of Malchut. In reality, is the power of Shekhinah. Shekhinah is dinim. Nukva carries dinim, gevurot. V'yadatem ki ani Adonai Elohechem. That means I am going to give you a food because in the top, Pasuk Dalet, go v'yomer Adonai el Moshe, hineni mamtir lachem lechem min hashamayim. I will give you a lechem from Shamayim, v'yitzeu ha'am leketu davar yom beyomo. Every day has his own portion. And they took, laketu, they took it. Leman anesenu hilech betorati imlo. There is a purpose that I'm giving you this man. Lechem min hashamayim. It's a lechem. And it comes from Shamayim to you. For what purpose? By you eating it. You want at night to be this meat, it's going to be meat. You want it in the morning to be lechem, it's going to be lechem for you. That means this man has the quality to be lechem in the morning and basar at night. Because there is a male and a female. There is a zachar and there is nukva. There is yom and there is a laila. And there is this man that I give you that will help you. If you receive this man, if you take this man, as per instruction that I tell you how to eat. Remember, the whole is the problem of to eat, how to receive, because eating is part of receiving. That's part of Ilanut. The first sin of Adam was because of eating. And what he ate? He ate from a fruit that he was not supposed to eat. What is Ilanut? Ilanut is that you eat from the fruit that you should eat and say bracha. There is the beginning Nisan, and now we are end of the 12th month. It's the He'acharon, it's the Malchut. It's to understand what is this Malchut. And that's why it is extremely important to understand what is this man. Just a moment. If they complained, Israel complained that you are giving me mitzvot that is hard. That's the complaint today. That yes, Judaism is hard to say the tefillot and keep the Shabbat and go by the letter halakha of Shabbat and to follow the Torah and to do the things that I need to do is not easy. It requires me to totally change myself. and abide to totally a different way of living, way of thinking, way of talking. Everything that I have been doing it now, if I want to go by the way of Torah, I need to change. Change is hard. It's very difficult, especially if you have to change your nature. So here comes the Torah and is teaching us, right at the beginning after the Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's the part important, because Hashem is going to take us out of Yetziat Mitzrayim. That is done. Will do as soon as you're ready. The point is, after you're out of, and you cross the bridge, and you're out of your darkness, and you have the opportunity to see the light and expand on that light, that is important, how to do it. And Hashem says, no problem, you complain, I understand. Strange, after 210 years of not doing certain things, and now you have to keep Shabbat. Paraduma, tehora, to keep yourself tahor. With everything that's going in the world of chitzoniut, you think Bnei Israel did not have chitzoniut? Yes, Erev Rav was surrounding them, and all the other enemies beyond them. As always, as today. So, I would like to share with you with what I understand. And because tomorrow morning we're going to have an opportunity to go through it more in details, I would like to take you to the Talmud Sefirot, to the Harav Ashlag's Bal Solam understanding and explaining this aspect of Maan, where this Maan came, what it is, and how we should understand, and how should I receive it, because this is available on daily basis, as the Torah. Torah doesn't have time. When Torah says Hayom, that means you receive the portion every day, the man for that day, and for Shabbat, on Yom Shishi, you get double. For Shabbat, you don't need to go and collect man on Shabbat. That's the beauty. It's already included in Shishi. Look at the Shishi. It's 2 yesh. Shishi is yesh. Everything is there. I would like to invite you to go to, and I'm sure many of you have, to the third book of Sefer of Talmud Sefirot. It is Chelek 9, and discusses Rav Zivugei HaSefirot, how Sefirot really, they have zivug together, how they combine together. I am reading the portion of Tet. And the purpose is to understand what Maan is all about. When did it start? Where it comes from? What's the purpose of Hashem coming and giving this Maan lechem min hashamayim? What is this bread of shamayim that comes from shamayim? Oh, it was only, as we said, every day we can get it today too. And this is to help us when we eat it, as per instruction. One of the instructions is don't take too much. If you take too much and you keep it till morning, worms will eat it. So forget it. Take the portion for every day, its portion. Nothing more. One thing is going to make you to start to behave. Not to worry. Not to worry what you're going to eat tomorrow. Not to worry that you're not going to have basar and lechem. Not to worry. One has to learn this. It's a beautiful blessing that I don't need to worry tomorrow what I'm going to eat. Tet, Nevaer Inyan Haman. Let's discuss the subject of man. Memnun. We know this Memnun many ways. One of the ways is when we say Mesirat Nefesh. Maim Nukvim. Nukvim is female water. The water that comes from below to above. The water comes from above to below is called Maim Duchrim. Male water. The female water is from below to above. So, Inyan Haman, the aspect of man, Shebenukva, this man always is found in the female. The man is found in the female aspect. Female of who this man? Is female of Zeirampin. Zeirampin, Adam is made in the image of Zeirampin. Zeirampin is Yud, He, Va, He, and its Nukva is Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. וממנו נלמוד לזולתם. And from this we are going to learn every aspect of what man is. It's very important in Kabbalah to understand this man. How we do man, what is man, how we should eat this man, and how should really cause this man to go la'alot, to go to its place. Because those man are the result of the shevirat ke'ilim of all the nekudot of olam nekudim. All the nekudot, that means all the malchuyot, all the dinim are all gathered in a partzuf called Ben. This Ben that we know, and we're going to learn what it is, Ben, which is twice Yud Kei Vav Kei, because the Milui and Atzmut both are Yud Kei Vav Kei. So that means if you make Yud Vav Daled, Hey Hey, Vav Vav, Hey Hey, that is 2 Yud Kei Vav Kei, and that is 52 Ben. Now we're going to understand what that means when I make a milui, when I fill it up with Yud, Yud Vav Dalet. Hey, hey, hey. Now we're going to talk about it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you mind give us the page? Which page is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Taf Shin Mem. Taf Shin Mem. 740. וכבר ביארנו, כי כל בחינת אלו הכלים נקרא שם בן. All these ke'ilim of the Nukva of Zeirampin is called Shem Ben. וכל דה והבן. And this you should know and you should understand it very well. כי סתם מן בכל מקום, anywhere you see man, memnun, hem romzim b'shem ben. Wherever you see memnun, reference is to a partsuf called ben. Omnam yesh bechrech bechinat haman ba'atzmo. Now there is very most important. We learned yesterday that all the ke'ilim, everything has a kli and atzmut. There is a kli and there is the light that is inside the kli. The atzmut, the essence, is what it is inside the kli, and the kli itself is the kli that carries the atzmut. The atzmut is or, and the kli is that vessel that reveals that or, that light. If it is ruach, there is a kli of the ruach that reveals the energy of ruach or nefesh. Or now, my body is a vessel that my neshama, which is my atzmut, my essence, is inside me. That's the kli and the vessel. Maan has a kli and has a atzmut in the kli of the man. There is an ore inside that vessel called man. And it's important to learn what is that ore which is inside the man. So it says Haman ba'atzmut, what is in its essence, vegam bechinat hakli. And then there is the aspect of the kli of the man. Atzmo asher notnim betocho Haman. There is a kli, and inside the kli there is a man. All of it is called man, but this man must have kli and atzmut. Asher elu romez Rav Zichrono lahagen aleinu be'amaram. Here it is, there is a remez. Follow. It's very important. It's something that at first I got embarrassed to thinking about it. But if you cleanse your mind and be open mind and understand the concept of the male and the female, and how a male and female are instructed and built to produce the light and the vessel. Because as the child, it is the father, mother, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu that create a vessel that the light of Kadosh Baruch Hu will reside in it and metaken and becomes complete. Ein ha'isha koretet brit. It's impossible for a woman. A woman really does not establishes covenant, doesn't establish to become a ketubah, doesn't commit itself. Ella, im mi sheyasea kli. A female is not ready to bind with the male if the male is not ready to take the female and make out of her a kli. Don't forget, Torah said, Lo tov Adam levado. It's not good that Adam to be alone. Ezer kenegdo. I need to make an entity that can stand in front of him and help him to become face to face to him and help him. This nukva is man. So when you get the man, if you don't make it a kli, appropriate kli, then the covenant between male and female from Zeirampin and Malchut does not generate toladot, creation, continuity. ולכן, and therefore, אין האישה מתערבת מביאה ראשונה. Now, another aspect, very important in Kabbalah. We know in order to Malchut to get Aliyah, to go to Bina, first has to come to Aliyah to Yesod, and then from Yesod to come to Tiferet. 2 zivugim. Why 2 zivugim? He says when a female for the first time wants to approach a male, she doesn't have no idea of what the pleasure of being pregnant or getting pregnant is, or having sex, because she never had sex. So she doesn't know the pleasure. Then on what basis, not knowing the pleasure, she accepts the man, desires for the man to approach? The Torah says she doesn't know. But when there is an understanding that she's going to be a vessel, the first time she doesn't make the kli. Remember all those words, because all those words are going to help us to understand the Katnut Rishon and Katnut Sheni and Gadlut Rishon and Gadlut Sheni. The first zivug is only after the first zivug is that the woman understands and desires the male aspect. That is the same in our body. We have male and female. The guf and the head, they act like male and female. The guf receives everything from the head, the rosh, the keter. And the guf relation to the rosh is like a male and female. And what the Torah is teaching us is both in inner world and in outside world. So he says, לכן אין האישה מתערבת מבעיה ראשונה, כי בבעיה ראשונה עשה לה בחינת הכלי. The first zivug only caused her to understand what is the pleasure. After she realizes what's the pleasure, now she has a kli, because now she has the desire. She knows there is a memory, an impression. ומשם ואילך, and from there on, יש מקום אל המן. Now that you created a kli, now you can receive a man. That is extremely important. That means if you don't have the first part, the kli, the man, which is the female aspect, is dinim, is gevurot, with dinim and chasadim. And we're going to study this. They all, if you make the kli, they all come together. That's the man. The man will give you the light, the fulfillment, and how to make the vessel. Everything you need. And make life much easier. That's what the Torah says. משום וילך, יש מקום אל המן להסתער. ציור. Because in the second zivug, now there is a female has a desire. The female aspect has desire, and when she gets the ibur, when she gets what to cultivate, now she has the power because of the love, because of the desire. She will form the ibur, the fetus, the tolada, cultivates it בתוכו, ואז מתערבת. Then she gets pregnant. Not on the first beya, the first contact. In order to further to understand this is the very deep part of the Torah. And it's not really easy to go through all of it. However, I took a selection of part of this to start us to understand further what is all this miluim, man, old ben, ein bet, sag, all these parsufim, all that, how they come together. Especially what is Shem and what is the milui of the Shem that creates parsufim shel ein bet sag mem he ben, because those are the source of all the energies. If we go to the page Tafshin Mem Aleph, we go into the section Yud. On the upper part, the Yud reads the following. וכל אלו הבחינות כולם הם בשם בן. All aspect. And Rav explains what it means with the old aspect. That means all the cause of the Shevirat Kelim, all the tikkun, the complete totality of the tikkun, they come into the Shem Shel Ben. אלא שיש בו בית בחינות. However, in this Ben, there is two aspects. Now, whenever I say Ben, we said we think of man. So in this man, there is two aspects. כי אחור שם זה הוא בגיאומטריה עין בית קדום. It has אחור, עין בית has the Ben itself is panim, and it has achor. Achor is the goof of the entity, the goof of the parzuf. In order to understand this clearly, I read this quickly, but I come back to Yud. It says that the achor, ki achorei shem zeh, that means all the achoraim shel shem of Ben, which is consist of two hovayot. If we want to calculate, there is two achoraim. Achoraim shel panim, achoraim shel achor. Now, it says, how do I calculate all the achoraim that I need? He says there are two achoraim. One achoraim is ein bet, and one achoraim is kedem, kuf daled mem. One achoraim is achoraim shel yud ke vav ke, and we know that to make achoraim, that means to give a name to the goof of entity, that its rosh, its keter, is yud ke vav ke, and its goof is as follow. Yud ke vav ke, achoraim shel yud ke vav ke is yud, yud hey, Yud, Hey, Vav, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. When you add all this, it becomes Ein Bet, Chesed, 72. This called Achoraim Shel Yud, K, Vav, K. If I want to calculate the Achoraim of the Shem Ben, which is Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Hey Vav Vav Hey Hey, I do the same thing. I say Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Hey, and to the end. When I add all these, it becomes Kedem, 144, 12 times 12. Remember that, it's very important. And the Torah continues. Shnehem begeometria, if you take two achoraim, Av, Kedem, Ein, Ein Bet, together becomes 216. Gevura. Vezeu bichinat kli. Now we know what the kli of man is made of, two energy, Ein Bet and Kedem. We're going to study those. Those are kli of the man. So if you want to make the kli, you gotta correct the Ein Bet and Kedem. That's the method, and we're going to learn it. Omnam, Hashem kesidro b'milui kazeh, but if you take the Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and you make it keseder, the milui of Ben, it's Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Hey Vav Vav Hey Hey, it's Ben. Vezeu Maim Nukvim. So the Maim Nukvim is Ben, and the Kli, which is the man itself, the Atzmut, the essence of the man, is Ben, the Partzuf Ben, and the Kli that holds this man is Ein Bet Kedem 216. The reason that I started from the back of Parasha to come to front, because all this will help me to explain one day, I hope, the understanding and the usage of the 72 names in correct and honest way. Bezrat Hashem. Now continue. יש עניינים רבים ובחינות רבבות בזה. There is a lot of understanding in this understanding of this man, which we receive every day. ובעזרת השם במקומו. Even Harav tells us to go deep into this to understand this man. It's of utmost importance, and that's why I ask you to please go back to Tafshin Mem Aleph or Pinimi Yud. אחורי שם זה שהוא בגיאומטריה עין בית קדם. Let's look at the kli, that the man is inside it. The kli is consists of Ein Bet and Kedem, and they are because of the miluim shel Hashem HaKadosh Yud Kei Vav Kei. Ve'shnehem b'chinat riv. And when you add Ein Bet and Kedem, 72 plus 144, that's what you get, 216 Gevura. Vezeu b'chinat kli. This is what we call kli. Now you have a kli to receive. Man. Omnam Hashem kesidro b'miluyo v'chole zeu the man. The actual man, the atzmut of the man is the Shem Ben. And the achoraim, they are the kli. צריך שתדע, you should know, מה שכתוב עליו בעין ח' עץ החיים, שער י"ח, סוף פ"א. זיכרונו להגן, שורש, שורש means the root, where the whole thing started. הוויה, י' כ' ו' כ'. הם ד' אותיות עצמן. The letters of Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, they are the shoresh. They are the root of everything. Aval, however, miluim, when you make a milui, that means if you make milui with Yud, or Aleph, or Hey, that means if you make with Aleph, you say Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Aleph, Vav Aleph Vav, Hey Aleph, which becomes 245 Mem Hey Adam. That's one Milui with Alfin. Then we have with Yudin, and then we have with Hein. It's good to learn this language. So it says, Aval Miluim, however, when you make Milui, when you do this, Hu Bi'ur Hovaya, Ve'yetziat Orotehem Lechutz. When you make this birur, you cause the light, the energy that is inside the root to come out, to appear, to be realized, to be received, to be completed, reach the state of Gadlut. Pirush, meaning, Ki Daled Otiyot Yud Ke Vav Ke, those letters of Yud Ke Vav Ke, Bili Milui, when you haven't done the Milui, that means filling it up, Morim al Eser Sefirot HaShoreshiyot Shebeparzuf. Yud Ke Vav Ke is only represents 10 Sefirot. That's why I said in the Rosh, you have to establish the Shoresh, which is Yud Ke Vav Ke. And Eser Sefirot, that's what only represents. Eser Sefirot, that's the Shoresh, as we explained in the Olam of Atzilut, Olam HaMachshava. Shenikraot Rosh or Keter. And that Eser Sefirot, either we call Rosh or we call it Keter. Keter is including Chokhmah and Binah. Ve'im yesh bahen milui, and if you want to take this shoresh, what is in your head, which is, of course, is a machshava, is the thought, that you are interested to cultivate it, to develop it, to bring it about, to realize it, you have to milui it, you have to fill it up, because this is only a shoresh. The Yud has to become complete. The Hey has to be we said there is Katnut Gadlut in Yud Ke Vav Ke and Shem Elokim. Vehen mevuarot et hashoresh. This is that mevuar, that means it makes birur. That's called birur nitzutzim. Because every time you get one ruach, one Yud Ke Vav Ke, every day you get a new Yud Ke Vav Ke. Every day. And you have to make a birur. And it's with rachamim. If you follow, because Yud Ke Vav Ke is the midat rachamim. If you follow the instruction. Klomar, שבאורות שמבוארות את השיעור קומה של הפרצוף, that means every time that you make a milu, if you make it with Yudin, you create a parzuf called Ayin Bet. If you take Yud Ke Vav Ke and you make a milu with Aleph and Yud, is Sag, is Binah. If you make Alfin alone, that's Memhei, Adam. And if you make with Hein, then you show the level of Ben, Malchut, Chokhmah, Binah, Zeirampin, and Malchut. You have 4 levels. ד' המילואים, עין בצג מ"ה בן כנודע. ועוד כתוב, שם אשר שם הוויה, if you take the name הוויה, and you say בריבוע. Now learn this concept. What is בריבוע? ריבוע means the square. Now in mathematics that's a lot, because you can find with ribua the area, and then you can go 365 degree and find the area of the circle, and that's how finally we come to understand what pi is. 314. 314 is Shin Daled Yud. And how this pi kind of but the Shin Daled Yud is Yesod of Bereshit, of Bria, but yet infinitum. That's by itself is mind-boggling. Now let's continue in this section. It says Hovaya beribua. Now ribua, learn how to do the ribua. Yore ala bichinata achoraim shel haparzuf. We said ribua, which is the goof, because the goof is like meruba, it's like a square, rectangular, is meruba. He says, now, this hovaya berua, to find the ribua of this hovaya, yud, yud hey vav, yud hey vav hey, add all this, is a ayin bet, chesed. So it immediately tells you, you want to create a body of totally chesed when the rosh is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now that you understood this image, you understood what is the milud, we stop here, and Bezrat Hashem, we're going to continue tomorrow. Continuity of understanding the Maan, and Bezrat Hashem to understand that tikkun of Mem Hey and Ben, because the aspect of the Maan is as well Mem Hey, because originally Mem Hey was Ben. So this Mem Hey Chadash that we know as a Melech Hadar, with his wife, they came to tikkun of all the ben. So every day I get Mem Hey Chadash inside the Maan, it's part of the Maan, atzmut of the Maan, in order to tikkun that dinim, which is inside the Maan, which is in the Achoraim, to make it milui, to bring it to gadlut, and how to use this memhei, receive this koach of this memhei chadash, because every day is chidush, it's new, and every day Hashem gives me boker beboker. That power to deal with that portion of the lechem and the basar. And the basar. It is beautiful that we see Baruch Hashem, we have an opportunity, really, to understand that detail of what's happening in the Torah before Ilanut, talking about eating. The eating is the fruit of your life, that fruit that you started from last spring to cultivate. And now you're coming to the last fruit while you're eating. The machshava, the thought of making every fruit of your life plenty. plenty of seeds, plenty of continuity. And therefore it is the machshava, because it's the panim that creates the achoraim. That achoraim, which is that malchut that we are creating by Purim, in this Yamei Shovavim, preparing ourselves for the Purim. So the seed, that aspect of the nitzutz, birurim that I took out of Egypt, to have that machshava behind it. What is the difference between machshava and all our five senses? Our five senses, they need time and the place. Machshava defies time and space. Your machshava doesn't depend on these boundaries. So therefore you can transfer an energy. So your springtime, your trees, the fruit of your trees, because we are, each one of us, we are Ilan. Ilan means 91. We are that tree that can bring yichud, unification, between the male and the female, and the male and female, and female and the male. That's why one of our Talmid Chachamim brought this point, but I'm glad to explain it further. That we said when there is a male and female, there has to be a zivug, two zivug. Male mitlabesh bemalchut, and another zivug is when malchut mitlabesh, the nukva mitlabesh bezachar. Zachar mitlabesh benukva, and one is nukva mitlabesh bezachar. That is when you take Yud K Vav K, Yud, Aleph, Hey, Dalet, Vav, Nun. That means you start with Yud, you finish with Yud, and the other one you start with Aleph and you finish with Hey. That is Zachar into Nukva, and the other one Nukva into Zachar. And two zivugim we will learn that through our tefillot, through the work of putting the tzitziot, and as well as tefillin, how we can connect to this man and how we can cultivate it using the information that is embedded both into the kli of the man and the essence of the man. Because remember, everything has to be cultivated both from or pinimi and the or makif, chitzoni. I say Chag Sameach already. Hopefully, by tomorrow morning, we have for our friends in Iran, in Middle East, our friends, one of our Talmidim, Baruch Hashem, Chazak Baruch, he set up tomorrow 9:30 through the Zoom. We are going to go through the process of explanation further deep than what this eating part of, at this time, 15th day of month Shevet, Aquarius, Dili. What is this Dili? Why water? Why again the vessel that brings the water? All that concept of understanding of this mazal, it's will help us to prepare us both for Purim, and therefore that's going to be the stepping stone for the final Yetziat Misraim and finalization of bringing Bezrat Hashem Mashiach. I say shalom to you, our friends at Facebook,